Welcome to Module 6, Data Entry, Paper Tool and Entering Data into the Clean Hands portal. At the end of this module, you should be able to use the Clean Hands Paper Tool to perform hand hygiene reviews, and use the Clean Hands portal to manually enter data from the paper tool. This is the Clean Hands Paper Tool.
During this section, you will learn how to use the paper tool. You can find the paper tool on the external hand hygiene web pages, which is covered in Module 9.
The paper tool is organized into two sections, the reviewer header information and the observation table.
When performing a hand hygiene review, you will need three documents: the Clean Hands paper tool, the healthcare provider list, and the list of canned comments. The healthcare provider list and the list of canned comments will be discussed later in this module.
The reviewer header information, seen here, should be filled out on each paper tool page. This information is needed when inputting the data into the Clean Hands portal on the computer. It is separated into zone, facility, unit, reviewer, date, and time. Now we will go over the observation section. Here is where you will be recording your observations of the 4 moments of hand hygiene for individual staff members. Each page holds up to 15 observations. The healthcare provider column is where you will write the individuals that you are observing. There is a healthcare provider list that you can consult to decide which category each person you're observing will fall under. This list was gone over previously in Module 4 and is also posted on the hand hygiene webpage. Under the left column is where you will put your healthcare provider designation of the person you are observing. For example, if you are observing a nurse, you would write Nurse 1. The next column is labeled Healthcare Provider Descriptor. The Healthcare Provider Descriptor is where you can describe the person you are observing. Generally, you should use this descriptor to help you remember when you have multiples of one profession that you are observing. For example, if you are observing 7 nurses, using the healthcare provider descriptor would help you discern who is who. What you can put in the healthcare provider descriptor box, for example, is something they are wearing or something about them. For example, you could record the color of their scrubs or their shoes. In this case, let's pretend they are wearing blue scrubs. The information entered into this column is only for your use and will not be saved or inputted into the hand hygiene portal. Regardless, do not use names in this column. The next 4 columns, highlighted in light orange, are the 4 moments for hand hygiene, which you should already be familiar with. To select a moment, place a check mark or X that lines up with the HCP you have written and the moment you have observed. For example, if we observed moment 1 before contact with patient or patient environment for our nurse in blue scrubs, we would place an X in this box. The next section is the hand hygiene observation or hand hygiene result. Here, you select the hand hygiene method, if any, for the observed moment. Wash is referring to washing your hands using soap and water. ABHR is referring to using alcohol-based hand rub. And a miss is referring to if no hand hygiene was performed. In this case, let's pretend that Nurse 1 used ABHR. The next column is the gloves box in green. Please check this box off whenever gloves are involved. If they were put on, donned, or taken off, doffed, or happened to be on during the moment being observed. The next 3 columns under additional parameters, nails, bracelets, and rings, can be observed in accordance to the hand hygiene policy, but are not required at this time. please refer to Module 4 for more information. The no soap column is to be checked off if the staff member washed their hands with water, but not soap. When checking off this box, the hand hygiene result or hand hygiene observation in yellow should be displayed as a miss, not a wash. The next and final section is the comment section. As a reminder, comments are needed to be chosen for every missed moment that occurs, but are not needed for successful moments. The comments will need to be chosen from one of two ways: canned comments or custom comments, sometimes referred to as free text comments. In this case, our nurse performed for moment 1 ABHR, so a comment would not be needed. For our next observation for nurse 1, let's pretend they did not perform hand hygiene for a moment 4. Because they did not perform hand hygiene, we will check off for moment 4, and then we will check off a miss. Because we now have a moment and a miss, we will need to select or write a comment. For a comment, you can choose a canned comment or a free text comment. For a free text comment, you are recording your own handwritten notes on the page. Remember to be detailed enough for a reader to understand what the miss that occurred was. Here I will write a star and write on the bottom a free text comment. We'll say, staff did not perform hand hygiene after contacting the patient. This is an example of a free text comment. If instead you wish to use a canned comment, which is preferred, you must consult the list of canned comments, which you should have with you during reviews to consult and choose the correct code.
Once again, this document can be found on the external hand hygiene web pages. Let's switch to this now. This is the list of canned comments. Once again, you should have this with you while you are doing reviews. This document may not be exact, as it may be changed in the future.
The list of canned comments is organized into tables based on the moment. Here we have the table listing the comments for moment 1, and here we have a list of comments for moment 2. On the second page, we can find the same for both moment 3 and moment 4.
In our example, for nurse 1, we were recording a moment 4 miss. Thus, we should be looking for a comment in the moment 4 table. Rather than copying all the text written in the comment, we can simply write the code before the comment on our paper tool. Make sure that the code you write matches up with the comment you wish to convey. For this example, we will choose code 4-1. Infrastructure needed for hand hygiene not available or accessible.
Now that we've chosen 4-1, we will write that in the canned comment section. For our next example, let's pretend that we are observing now a different person, a second nurse. In our HCP column, we would write nurse 2. This allows us to differentiate between the first nurse, as they have different numbers. We could then write a healthcare provider descriptor if we wished, such as green shoes, and then continue on with our observations. You may have noticed that I didn't write nurse 1 in this white box. That is because we know that the nurse 1 was the first observation and can assume that all subsequent observations without anything in the HCP column will be for nurse 1. So although it doesn't say it, this too is for nurse 1. It is important to remember when recording observations that each moment will get its own row, meaning that for nurse 2, if we were to see two moments, moment 1 and moment 4, or moment 1 and moment 2, we would not put them in the same line. Each moment should have its own line. Additionally, the same applies for the hand hygiene result or observation. Even if someone both washes their hands with soap and water and uses ABHR, you would not select 2 to put in one line. If someone does perform hand hygiene using soap and water and ABHR, select the one that happened first and record that one. Now that we've gone over how to use the Clean Hands paper tool, let's look at this example provided to us by Corrine to see if we can use what we've learned to read what she's recorded. Starting from the top, we can see where and when Corrine reviewed. Corrine appears to be from the Calgary zone at the Foothills Medical Hospital in the emergency unit. In the name, she has written just Corrine. Normally, you would write your first name and last name in this box, but because this is an example, we've just put a first name. For the date, 2017, January 1st, and the time at 8 o'clock. Now, let's look at the observations she made. The first person observed was a nurse. Corrine decided to identify this person as wearing blue scrubs, just in case she forgot who they were in the future. The first observable moment was a moment 1, so she checked off before patient or patient environment, and only that box in this row. For the hand hygiene result, she selected ABHR, meaning the staff member used hand sanitizer for this moment. Looking at the additional parameters, this staff member was wearing rings which were not in accordance with AHS policy, so she selected that box as well. Since this was not a miss, no comments were written. The second observation is also for Nurse 1, which we can see as there is not anything written in the HCP column, meaning it was the same person as the last observation. This moment was a moment 4, and the staff member used ABHR, so each of these were checked accordingly. She also checked the ring box again, as it was the same staff member still wearing the same ring. The same 2 observations occurred again, with a moment 1 with ABHR selected, and a moment 4 with also ABHR selected. The next person that was observed we can see is also a nurse, and we know it is not the same nurse as before, as this time it says Nurse 2 in the HCP column. This nurse has the HCP descriptor of pink scrubs, and the first moment observed is checked off as a moment 1, and the hand hygiene result is checked as a miss. Because the checked result is a miss, we see a comment in the comment column on the far right, and we see the number 1-01. This means that Corrine decided to use a preset comment for this miss, and chose one from the list of canned comments. Instead of writing the whole comment out, she chose to just write the numbers indicating that specific comment. If we were to look at the list of canned comments, comment 1-1 is staff had contact with a patient's environment after working at the nursing station. Moving on, the next observation we see is a moment 2 and then a 3, recorded for this same Nurse 2, both recorded with the hand hygiene result, wash, meaning the HCP chose to wash their hands with soap and water as opposed to ABHR. Also notice that in this case, the gloves box is checked off. What this means is the staff member was wearing, or had grabbed, or had recently taken off gloves for each of these moments. The final moment for Nurse 2 is a moment 4, which was indicated with the hand hygiene result of miss, and since it was a miss, a comment was written in the comment box, 4-7. This comment corresponds to staff tossed used linen that went directly to control station. The next healthcare provider observed was a physician, indicated in the healthcare provider column as Physician 1. The identifier chosen for this individual was glasses. The recorded moment was a moment 1, which is before contact with the patient or their environment, and it was recorded as a miss. The nails and bracelet boxes were also checked off, meaning that the healthcare provider was wearing nails and bracelets that do not adhere with AHS hand hygiene policy. Since this was a miss, a comment must be written. Here, Corrine wrote a custom comment, but couldn't fit it in the box, so wrote an asterisk with the comment on the bottom of the page. She wrote, "Staff member contacted patient after touching curtains." The next moment for this physician was also a moment 1 miss, with nails and bracelets parameters selected. But we can also see that the no soap box was selected as well. This means that the staff member likely washed their hands in the sink with water, but did not use soap. Thus, the moment is recorded as a miss rather than a wash. There is a comment for this missed moment, which is also a free text comment. Corrine wrote, "Staff member washed prior to contact with patient, but with no soap." There are two more healthcare providers observed in this example, another physician and someone from respiratory services. If you would like to test your own ability to understand the paper tool, please pause the video now and look at the moments recorded for these two individuals, and see if you can understand what was recorded for each of them. The Clean Hands portal is the database where hand hygiene data is stored and where reports can be generated. The following recording will provide a tutorial on how to enter data into the portal from the paper tool. Once you've logged in, you'll see three tabs: Reviews, Reports, and Account Settings. We're going to go to Reviews. To begin entering a review, after selecting the Review tab, you will then select New Review in the top right. A new screen will open with the title Review Header Information. Use the drop-down list to select the zone, facility, unit, reviewer, and date and time for the review you're entering. This information can be found at the top of the paper tool. Users with permission to enter the data in the Clean Hands portal must enter the data under the name of the reviewer that collected the data, not themselves. If your name or the name of the reviewer you're entering data for does not appear in the reviewer drop-down list, you will need to contact the Infection Prevention and Control Hand Hygiene Program at hand.hygiene@ahs.ca. We will use the Clean Hands paper tool example to demonstrate how to enter the data into the portal. Looking at the top of the page, we can see Calgary was selected for zone, the facility is the Foothills Medical Center, the unit was the emergency department, the review was completed by Corrine on January 1st, 2017 at 8 o'clock. We'll input this information by selecting each of the drop-down menus. Once you've inputted your reviewer header information, you can then select Continue. A new screen will appear summarizing the reviewer header information that you selected. Ensure that this information is correct before continuing. If you need to make a correction, select the Back tab. To begin, we will first add the healthcare provider from the paper tool example. In this case, this is a nurse. From the Add New HCP drop-down list, select Nurses and then select Add HCP. You will now see the Record Observation screen. The nurse that we just added will be visible as Nurse 1. We can now enter the data that was collected for Nurse 1. In the paper tool example, under Nurse 1, there are 4 observations to enter. For each entry, we will be selecting the moment, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the observation, wash, ABHR, or miss, and any additional parameters that are checked off on the paper tool, nails, bracelets, ring, soap, or gloves. The boxes will highlight in green once you have made your selections. From the paper tool example, for the first entry of Nurse 1, we will select Before Patient Environment, ABHR, and rings. Once we are sure that we have selected correctly, we will select Add Observations. To enter the second observation from the paper tool example under Nurse 1, we will select After Patient Environment, ABHR, and rings. We will then again select Add Obs after we've selected the proper parameters. To enter the third observation, we will select Before Patient Environment, ABHR, and rings. For the fourth observation, After Patient Environment, ABHR, and rings. We can view all of the observations we have entered so far for Nurse 1 in the table that appears under the observation box. We can see that we have entered a total of 4 observations for Nurse 1. We've now entered all of the data under the first healthcare provider, which in our example was Nurse 1. We will now enter the data under the next healthcare provider listed on the paper tool example, which in this case is Nurse 2. We will follow the same directions as when we added Nurse 1. Scroll up and select nurses from the Add New HCP list. Then select Add New HCP. The new nurse that we have added will be visible next to where it says Select HCP. In this example, we will now see Nurse 2. Next to Select HCP, where you see Nurse 2 now, if you click the drop-down arrow, you will notice that Nurse 1 is still available to select. If at any time you need to add more observations under Nurse 1, or other previously added healthcare providers, this can be done by selecting them from here. To enter data under Nurse 2, we will follow the same instructions we provided for entering data under Nurse 1. For Nurse 2, we have a total of 4 observations to enter. For the first observation, we need to select Before Patient Environment and Miss. Since this observation also has a code under the canned comment column of the paper tool, we will need to enter this as well.
To enter the canned comment, we will select our Moment 1 as seen in the paper tool, and then we will select Miss. Upon selecting Miss, a comment window will open. Here, we can write a free text. However, in this case, since we are choosing a canned comment, we can select from the drop-down list. In this case, we will select 1-01, then select OK to confirm the comment. If you want to change the comment selected or the window does not open, you can select the notepad icon here to open the comment window. Now that we have our correct comment, we can select Add Obs to add the observation.
We can be sure the comment was inputted by viewing the yellow sticky note next to the observation within the table. To enter the second observation from the paper tool, under Nurse 2, we will select Before Aseptic Procedure, Wash, and Gloves, and then select the Add Obs button. This process will be repeated for the remaining observations under Nurse 2. To enter the third observation, we will select After Bodily Fluids, Wash, and Gloves. Then select the Add Obs button.
To record the fourth observation for Nurse 2, we'll head back to the paper tool example and see under Nurse 2 we have a Moment 4, Miss, with a comment of 4-7. So to enter this observation, we will select Moment 4, Miss, and when the comment window pops up, we'll select the drop-down list and go down to 4-7. Then click OK. Now that this observation is entered, we can click Add Obs.
As we did for Nurse 1, we can view all the observations that we have entered for Nurse 2 in the table at the bottom of the screen. Remember, the yellow notepad signifies that we have added a comment for that observation. In our paper tool example, the reviewer used the canned comment codes for the missed moments of hand hygiene. Although it is preferred that the canned comment codes are used during a hand hygiene review, at times a free text or written comment will be used instead. If you need to enter a free text comment, you would follow similar directions as before. Select the notepad icon to the left of the Add Obs button. The Add Note box will appear. Instead of using the drop-down list, you would type the free text comment under Enter Free Text Note. Once you've typed the free text comment, select OK to add the comment and proceed with the previous instructions to continue adding the observation. In the paper tool example, there is additional data to be entered. To enter remaining data, follow the same instructions as before. In the interest of time, we will not enter the remaining data. Once you have entered all of the data from the paper tool, it is important that you double check that the entered data is accurate. As previously mentioned, all added observations can be viewed in the table at the bottom of the Record Observation screen. If you realize an entry error has occurred during data entry, you can correct it before uploading the finished review. Once observations have been added, the information such as the moment or result that was selected cannot be changed. You will need to delete the observation and re-enter the correct information. You are able to delete a single observation or all observations under a single HCP. If you'd like to delete a single observation, select the Delete icon immediately to the right of that particular observation. If you'd like to delete all observations under a single HCP, for example, all observations under Nurse 1, you would select the Delete icon to the far right of the HCP you would like to delete. Before uploading the entered data, you can use the Summary option to review the information once again. Select Summary at the top right of the screen. A Review Summary box will appear where you can review the review parameters, the number of HCP you have entered, and how many observations you have entered. If you are satisfied with the review summary, select OK to close the summary box. If you are confident that all of the data you have entered is correct, you can upload the data by selecting Finish at the top right of the screen. After selecting Finish, you will return to this screen. If the data that you entered was your own and uploaded under your account, you will see the review listed under the heading Review List. If you are entering the data on behalf of another reviewer, such as today, you will not see the review listed. This is because the data has been uploaded under that reviewer's account, not your own. If you'd like to confirm that the upload was successful, you can generate a unit hand hygiene feedback report under the Reports tab. Generating reports will be discussed in Module 7. If you realize that a hand hygiene review contains a data entry error after you've uploaded, please notify the Infection Prevention and Control Hand Hygiene Program at hand.hygiene@ahs.ca. You should now be able to use the Clean Hands paper tool to perform hand hygiene reviews, and use the Clean Hands portal to manually enter data from the paper tool. Congratulations! You've completed the paper tool version of Module 6. You are now ready to begin Module 7. If you will be using the paper tool and the iPad to perform hand hygiene reviews, you are required to complete the iPad version of Module 6 as well.